number 7. These two players at 5-1. So still well and truly in the conversation towards the top of the standings. And we're expecting a handful of undefeated players by the end of day number 1, right? A lot of players turning up to battle, but we should have a couple of players at the end of the day who haven't picked up a loss.
Yeah, there should be at least one or two undefeated players by the end of Swiss, I'd imagine.
All right, we've got an Ether Vial on turn number 1 for Nathanael. Perfect start for him. William's going to go fetching with this Misty Rainforest. Maybe we're going to see one of these new Surveil lands. Maybe we'll see Hedge Maze or Thundering Falls. Nope, just a Steam Fence, and that probably indicates that William has something to cycle here.
Yeah, that is the great part of these Surveil lands in his deck, right? It's like you were saying, Riley, like, yeah, maybe he's going to fetch up a Surveil land right here, use it. But it's just a great failsafe for when he doesn't have something to cycle particularly, or has an extra mana left over that he'd be fetching with. So,
well, that's right. It's not uncommon in a game of Modern to crack a fetch without anything to spend the mana on. You're just going to get a shock land and save yourself 2 life. But here, being able to get a bit of extra value out of that fetch where you don't require the extra mana. It's only small. We're kind of making it into this big, huge, game-changing point, but it definitely does make a difference. Okay.
Yeah. What?
So,
it's the Hexcatcher.
We are seeing here the Verdalian Hexcatcher, and counter target non-creature spell unless its controller pays 1, or is it just being flashed in?
Yeah, he's just flashing it in the turn
as well. The way he picked it up made it seem like he was sacrificing it, but no, I don't think that's the case.
But it is just a very strong card in this matchup. It forces Wiliam to, cast a Living End on turn 4 at the earliest.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, a little force spike against a deck that is, all in sort of on a single non-creature spell. Always a useful thing to have. All right, we're going to see another big creature hit the battlefield here in the graveyard in the form of Waker of Waves. It's being kind of cycled away, not quite, but discarded to put a card into William's hand from the top of the deck. Now back to Nathanael, who is going to play. We've got here a.
Yeah, I didn't recognize the art. Yeah, Riley out here trying to figure out what the card is. I was thinking the same thing. What is that?
It's not as Tishana's Tidebinder.
No, it looks like maybe Tideshaper. Wait, Tideshaper with Kicker. Yeah, I think he kicked
Tideshaper with Kicker. There we go. All right, I was looking through the 2 drops. I'm thinking, hang on, but no, Tideshaper with Kicker. You've saved the broadcast, Noah.
I was wondering the same thing. I was like, I think maybe it's like a retro art or something, because I really just did not recognize the art at all.
Yeah, I think it's the old bordered frame there, and that's going to make that forest into an island. And there's the Master of the Pearl Trident as well. Man, Merfolk gets some really good lords.
Yeah, these new lords are like they're really not messing around. And even as we see Master of the Pearl Trident, like the old school ones, like just all of these Merfolk lords have always been just at a great rate for the deck. As in this year, we're still seeing the cards being incredibly powerful. So that is just a testament to Merfolk in general.
Yeah, Merfolk have been getting the chop out recently for sure. These creatures coming in, I don't even have the calculating power to figure out what their power and toughness is. There are 3 lords, plus the fact that the Tideshaper gets +1/+1 because of the opposing island. I think this could just be lethal. Be a card, sure. Yeah, okay, that's fine. That makes sense.
This one is for sure.
An Ether Vial activation as well, and another lord comes down. All of these creatures getting +4
because they're all 5s, right? Or 6, or yeah.
Oh, at this point, have we figured out how many numbers? Have we figured out?
It was actually exactly 15.
At that, William Heise not even getting the option to play a spell. He activated like 3 abilities of various cards, Noah. And that is game number 1 going to Nathanael Perigo. What an incredible performance from that Merfolk deck, hey?
I mean, you see my face. Like, I'm as surprised, as William was there. Like, he's like, yeah, like I should be fine here. I can just play my sap land. Next turn, I'm going to go off with, a Living End. And he's like, nah, this is actually 15.
Yeah, you're actually dead right here, right now. Like, take all that damage off of your mana base. But I think we're seeing something here. that is emerging because of maybe some of the greed in Modern at the moment when it comes to mana bases, when it comes to people stretching to, 3, 4, 5 color ambitious mana bases. Decks that are streamlined and can unload a huge amount of damage very quickly can do very well. Burn, for instance, is a deck that I think is positioned pretty well at the moment. And Merfolk does have those starts where they can put a lot of pressure on and also keep up a fair bit of disruption. This is the classic tempo strategy. So a great start here for Nathanael. Unsurprising that he's 5-1 if his deck's doing those sorts of things for him.
Yeah, totally. Nathanael been playing really well, having these good draws. He had turn Aether Vial, exactly what you want for the deck. The Hexcatcher, as I said, really great in the matchup. Had it on 2. You, as the Merfolk deck, you're going to really need to be curving out against Living End deck because if you're kind of playing the Draco game, especially in game 1, you won't really be able to get too far ahead. So that game played out exactly in the way that Nathanael was hoping for.
All right, let's jump into game number 2 and see if Nathanael can string together a back-to-back victory with his Merfolk list here. Very, very convincing performance in game number 1. Can he do it again? So, Wiliam, unsurprising to see those Ingot Chewers being brought in, a really useful card against Aether Vial, which I think is in Nathaniel's hand there as he mulligans to 6.
Yeah, really heads up bring in here from Wiliam. The best card in Nathaniel's deck from his perspective has got to be Aether Vial in this matchup, just because you can kind of choose how you want to apply your pressure, put stuff in instant speed in combat like we saw him do there for lethal, or like end of turn stuff, or even after like a Living End resolves, flashing a creature into play. So this Ingot Chewer, I think, is
the amount of mana that it saves you as well is just huge here. Architects of Will, another cycle. A couple of them going to the bin, and there's that Thundering Falls. Looks like William's going to keep a card on top. Aether Vial goes to 1, and Nathanael with a Chalice of the Void here. Another huge card. Now, Ingot Chewer does answer this. This is another really important card that Ingot Chewer answers. But Chalice of the Void on 0 is backbreaking if unanswered against Living End.
Yeah, totally. Probably one of the best cards Nathanael could have. Really unfortunate for him that Wiliam has this Ingot Chewer in combination with like some other Cascade spells, because then when the Ingot Chewer comes back into play, he'll also be able to kill this Aether Vial. So just a really nasty combo there.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Chalice of the Void, chewed up by the Ingot Chewer. But that does slow Wiliam down by a turn, and we've seen what difference a turn can make in these situations. All right. Mistcaller, the play here for Nathanael. Interesting thing about some of these cards that have abilities where they sacrifice themselves, like Mistcaller, you can put them in the bin before the Living End resolves, right? So even with your Verdalian Hexcatcher, even if they can pay the 1 for the Force Spike effect, just sacrificing it in response to the Living End can mean that you have an extra body on board, which is always useful.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, Mistcaller just kind of counters Living End by itself, right?
I didn't even think about that aspect of it.
It's like I wasn't even like looking at the list. I wasn't thinking that he just had Nathanael had these main deck cards in his deck that just shut off.
Shuts off. I was just like, oh, it can sacrifice itself in response, right? That's always useful.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about cards that can do that. Like you got a Viserys out, and they can just never cast their Living End because you can ruin them. Whereas
exactly.
Absolutely.
Mistcaller is kind of the same. I mean, at least casting Living End, it still will destroy all of Nathanael's creatures. So
yeah,
it's not horrible by any means if you're Wiliam to want to resolve a Living End in this scenario. But it's not as good as it seems. And then the Mistcaller comes back into play after you sacrifice it from the Living End. So it's like it kind of sets up.
We're going for it. Wiliam Heise is going for it here. Going to cascade into maybe has he got other cascade cards that he's sideboarded in perhaps? No, it's going to be Living End. And what's in the bin? Ingot 2 Architects of Will and a Street Wraith. But Nathanael can just activate this Mistcaller, as we so expertly pointed out from the very beginning. No, this is a card that's pretty brutal.
Yeah, Mistcaller is a tough one here, and I mean, if you're Wiliam,
No, the Mistcaller doesn't come back. I think it will be exiled by its own ability.
Oh, and if any creature, if a non,
Yeah.
if a non token. Oh wait, that's super cool. Yeah, so the Mist Crawler doesn't come back. My
Yeah.
apologies. But William put in a tough spot anyways. Like he knows that there's a Mist Crawler in play that more or less counters the
Mm.
majority of Living End, but he kind of just has to go for the Violent Outburst anyways in the face of this
Oh
Chalice on
boy.
0.
Oh boy. So Chalice on 0, flat, Ether Vial in, another Lord. Mutavault also attacking for 100 billion here. Wiliam on 10. Nathanael's deck has been firing on all cylinders here and has been running rings around this Living End deck. So Subtlety. Subtlety can't counter the Lord of Atlantis because it was brought in with the Ether Vial. So now an attack with everything.
Wait, that's 10?
And that's
4,
enough.
7. Oh yeah. Wait.
With 2 Lords out, that is enough. Wiliam, unfortunately, being taken